Who would have thought this wound was worth $1 million? Unfortunately, Forrest didn't see a penny of it, but he cherished this gift because it meant unlimited ice. Yet, he was always shaded by a hint of gloom, as if that war had snatched his soul. Seriously, war is brutal, it even took his legs. It planted seeds of resentment in his heart, blaming Forrest for pulling him back from the brink of... After hearing Forrest's reply, he felt utterly humiliated, feeling like a failed hero who couldn't die with honor. In his view, everyone's fate carried a determined weight, some light as a feather, others heavy as a mountain. As a born warrior, he was meant to bask in the glory of valor rather than live in a state of defeat. He couldn't grasp Forrest's persistence and wondered, isn't living the greatest gift of life? Why torment himself, locking himself in the shadows of the past war? While recuperating in the hospital, Forrest accidentally unlocked a new skill, ping pong. At first, he thought ping pong was fun, but as time passed, his skills skyrocketed. Soon, no one could match him, and the next day, Forrest received some great news. He would be awarded the Medal of... He was eager to share the honor with his leader, whom he always respected, but the leader had already left. Forrest's award ceremony aired live on TV. His bravery made him a national hero, yet fate played a humorous trick again. By chance, Forrest stumbled upon a rally, and the crowd was like it had been ignited with passion, but Forrest was completely clueless. It turned out to be an anti-war protest, and he was just pushed to the forefront to give a speech. What a comedy of errors. Just then, a familiar voice sounded, and Forrest jumped off the stage, rushing to the figure haunting his dreams. In the crystal clear lake, they finally reunited. At that moment, all speeches faded into insignificance. Their heartfelt embrace became the most beautiful sight. The crowd cheered for Forrest and Jenny, yet Jenny's friends seemed a bit shady. Forrest stood up once more. Forrest suggested dating Jenny, but she didn't reply. Instead, she opened up about her years of wandering and searching. Subtitles. God didn't transform Jenny into a flying bird, yet Jenny lived like one. She wandered around everywhere, savoring the very essence of freedom. Jenny honestly told Forrest that their life paths were like two parallel rivers flowing towards distant shores. She longed to chase that light of freedom, and Forrest understood that Jenny had always desired freedom, refusing to be tied down to any. As they parted, she gave Jenny the medal. I got it for doing what you taught to keep running. They embraced deeply, transcending friendship and love, becoming an unspoken bond and care. Forrest was not only good at ping pong, but he became a symbol of American glory, acting as a bridge in US-China ping pong diplomacy. Whenever he appeared on TV again, one day Forrest was about to head out when he unexpectedly bumped into Dan. He looked so haggard, as if had aged a decade overnight. Living on a meager government allowance, the irony was that everything Forrest had was once Dan's unreachable dream. Then they walked into a bar together, and Forrest quietly confided to Dan that he promised to help Bubba achieve his shrimp dream. Dan couldn't help but laugh, replying, "If you really become a captain, I'd happily be your doctor." As the countdown continued, Christmas bells chimed, filling the bar with festive cheer. Colorful ribbons rained down, adding to the festive spirit. Everyone was smiling except for Dan, whose frown was a bit concerning. It was unclear what he was thinking. Later that evening, Dan brought 2 women home, but Forrest showed little interest. One of the women bluntly called Forrest a fool, which left Dan furious as he shooed them away. As a result, Dan stumbled and fell. Forrest was ready to help, but Dan refused and insisted on crawling back to his wheelchair himself. Dan knew Forrest is sensitive to the term fool, just as he himself feared being seen as a monster. Dan understood that Forrest wasn't really foolish. He had goals and direction, never stopping in his tracks. Most people were just wasting time like zombies, including Dan himself, and at that moment, he felt a rare sense of shame towards. He realized that true courage and wisdom often lay within the seemingly ordinary. Forrest's determination was soon. Forrest got his discharge notice and the $25,000 check from the ping pong firm. With this money, Forrest went to Bubba's hometown, where he met Bubba's family and his spirit too. Forrest promised that Bubba weighed heavier than any fancy statement. He was determined to realize the dream. He made up his mind to build a shrimp boat in order to realize their jointly woven dream. This was his very mission. Forrest was daring and utterly fearless. One day at that place marked the beginning of their shrimping adventure, filled with hopes and a fighting spirit. They worked hard, pulling together, but Forrest couldn't stop thinking of Jenny. However, Forrest dreamt of Jenny, as if she were there in the ice cream shop, smiling and waiting for him, hoping that her smile could light up every single moment of her future. But just as he tried to take that crucial step forward, his foot slipped. A wave of weightlessness surged over him, the biting cold breeze instantly awakening him, as if Jenny were fading away.